Why is no one playing the Singularity? Well, it might be because
it wasn't programmed to harm the crew.
What's going on, guys? Sharpshot here. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. So today's video, we're going to be looking at why nobody is playing as the Singularity. Now, if you actually think about it, how many times as a survivor have you gone against the Singularity since he's launched? It probably hasn't been that many times. And in my personal experience, I'm actually seeing the Singularity less after launch than I did with Onryo's chapter. So today's video, we'll be looking at some DBD experiments and stats revolving around this Singularity since he launched, and then we're going to be looking into Singularity's power and answering the question for why nobody is playing him. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. Starting out with Singularity stats, a Redditor conducted a DBD experiment where they played 157 games during Tome 15 just to see how many times they would play against each killer as a survivor. And looking at the bar graph, they actually played against the Singularity a grand total of 0 times, which is honestly pretty impressive because after 160 games, especially after a killer has just launched, you would expect to play against them at least once. Looking at Singularity's pick rates and kill rates, a site called nightlight.gg allows DBD users to upload their games, which that website draws statistics from. And you might be thinking that these statistics are pretty off because it's user submitted data, but the statistics here are from a time span of June 17th to today, which is July 15th as I'm recording this, which was a span of 1 month that started 5 days after Singularity released, and 37,912 games were submitted. So this is definitely a large enough sample size to draw conclusions with. And although this website does show that Singularity has the 6th highest pick rate at 4.54%, this might be skewed a little higher because this website allows killer submitted and survivor submitted games. So a few users that might be Singularity mains might consistently post their same Singularity matches. But what I think is a more representative statistic from these submissions is actually Singularity's kill rate, which is the lowest out of any killer in DBD for this month at 44.1%, meaning that on average Wesker is getting 1 kill per game. And looking at his kill distribution, the majority of the Singularity games are 0Ks at 30%. So it's actually pretty surprising that he has the lowest kill rate, but this could also be because he is a new killer and he is very confusing to play. So the people that are trying the Singularity out aren't very good because they're just trying to learn. So you can draw your own conclusions to these statistics, but I just wanted to show you guys because I think it is pretty surprising that a Redditor didn't play against them at all. So now moving on to Singularity's power and why I think nobody is playing him. Starting out with the biopods, there's 2 things that are really difficult about them, and it's the mechanics to use them and also the map awareness required to use them. With the mechanics, it can be super finicky sometimes, and if a survivor is even an inch outside of the line of sight for the camera, you're just not going to be able to shoot them at all. And you can even place cameras in really awkward locations, like right above a generator, where if you look down, you won't even be able to shoot survivors even if you see their full body. And not to mention, for you console enjoyers, aiming around with cameras is very confusing on controller and it's just not a great experience. And on to the second point, you need super good map awareness to be able to place the cameras in good locations around the map, which is something that you can only gain through practice and playing a ton of DBD. So as a beginner, this can be the most difficult part of his power. Once you do have a survivor attached to the blob, if you are trying to teleport to them by shooting them with your gun directly, this can also be very finicky because if you miss even by an inch, then you're just going to shoot another blob out in the distance and just not teleport at all. And not to mention, overall, the teleportation process from first infecting a survivor and attaching a blob onto them, and then looking at them even longer in the camera to then teleport to them or shooting the gun at them, it's just a process that takes way too long, which leads to my next point that EMPs are very strong and very frustrating to play against. You could have worked super hard throughout the trial attaching a blob and infecting all 4 survivors just for them to all huddle up together, use 1 single EMP and delete all of your progress and remove all the blobs from each other. And not to mention that if they're running around, they can just turn off the cameras, not allowing you to attach even more blobs, which is very frustrating. And this is all compounded by the fact that there's 5 available EMPs every 100 seconds that the survivors have to their disposal, so they can always have an EMP on hand, which is very difficult to play against because it directly counters your power. Overclock mode is probably the only feature of Singularity that isn't frustrating. It's actually very fun being able to not get pallets done and vaulting windows really quickly, and if you can consistently be in overclock mode and constantly teleporting to survivors and applying map pressure through attaching blobs on the survivors, he can actually be a pretty decent killer right around B tier, and with the perfect build, perfect add-ons, maybe even low A tier. But overall, the main problem with Singularity, as highlighted by his power, is that in order to be a really good killer, you have to do so many things with him. It's similar to Legion in the sense that you're always in a go, 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 and you're constantly doing something. There's no downtime. You always have to be looking at a camera, trying to shoot a survivor with a blob, being in a chase, kicking gens, worrying about hooks. There's just so many extra things that Singularity has to do in a trial in order to perform on par to other killers who take very minimal effort, like Knight, for example, that it just isn't worth it to try and get good with Singularity. So overall, to answer the question, the reason nobody's playing the Singularity is because he's very difficult to play, and if a new player wanted to try and get good with a complex killer, you might as well pick up somebody like Blight, Nurse, Spirit, where if you put the same amount of effort into getting good than you would on the Singularity, with those three killers you would be performing at an S tier level, whereas Singularity you would probably end up performing at a B tier level. So it's just not worth it picking up Singularity. And not to mention, if you're gonna buy the DLC, his perks aren't even that great either. There just isn't that much appeal to be playing as Singularity. So yeah guys, that's why nobody is playing the Singularity in DBD right now. But what are your thoughts on the Singularity and his power? Comment it below, but honestly, I don't blame the community for not playing him. So yeah guys, that's been the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you're new. This has been Sharpshot, and I will see you guys in the next video.